Tenet is the first blockbuster of the year. It could be the only one we get in 2020. It's directed by Christopher Nolan and stars John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, and Kenneth Branagh. A no-name protagonist fighting for the survival of the world is given just one word: Tenet. That leads him on a journey of time travel and international espionage. So after all of this time and my various complaints about not being able to go to the movie theaters in my state, I finally saw Tenet. If you watched my recent YouTube video of my first experience going to the movie theaters during this pandemic, then you already knew this, but yeah, I saw Tenet. And this was one of the most confusing movies I've ever seen in my entire life. So yeah, I don't even know where to start. If you did not know, this was my most anticipated movie of 2020, so I was dying to get out to the theaters to see this thing. And yes, it is a very convoluted film. Not just one of the most convoluted movies I've ever seen in my entire life, but definitely one of the most convoluted Christopher Nolan movies, and this guy also made Interstellar and Inception. Nolan's last movie, Dunkirk, was my most anticipated movie of 2017, and I was disappointed by that movie after watching it in theaters. I was hoping I would not feel the same after watching Tenet, and the first half of this film, I did enjoy it, but this movie does not get great until the second half, and after completing the entirety of Tenet, I can say with full faith that Tenet is 100% better than Dunkirk. It's probably Nolan's best movie, maybe since Inception. The one thing Tenet has over Dunkirk is more Nolan-isms. These Nolan-isms include the large-scale cinematography, action, music, special effects. All of that, in my opinion, is done better and is more cinematic in Tenet over that of Dunkirk. That's exactly what makes Christopher Nolan one of the most popular directors of all time. This man knows exactly how to make epic movies, and Tenet is one of his most epic movies to date. The 5 elements I mentioned weren't as elaborate in Dunkirk over that of Tenet, which is why Tenet is a movie that I think is much better. And this has to be return to form for Christopher Nolan. I don't think we've seen a Nolan movie quite like Tenet since Inception, really. You know you're watching a great Christopher Nolan movie when you start getting chills about halfway through, and in some of these sequences that take place in Tenet, my body was all in. The opening sequence and the ending especially are what make Christopher Nolan movies so special. Nolan further proves that he is a great director at the beginning of Tenet and at the ending of Tenet. In these sequences, this is where the movie comes at full effect. The scale is massive in Tenet. Human extinction is on the line. The music was done beautifully. I missed Hans Zimmer, but at the same time, I really like the score we got in this movie. Of course, the cinematography looks incredible. It was shot all on IMAX cameras. I wish every single movie used IMAX cameras, but I guess they don't have the same budget that Christopher Nolan does. Nevertheless, the cinematography in Tenet is immaculate to see on the big screen, so I cannot wait to watch this movie again in IMAX. The action is exciting, practical effects are used once again in this movie, and it's another extremely original Christopher Nolan film. It's one of the most original films I've ever seen in theaters. Just like Inception, Tenet uses a concept that we've never seen before on the big screen. So I'm telling you guys, definitely go see this movie in the theaters while you can. I hope you all support it because we don't get a lot of original films in Hollywood nowadays. So definitely go see this movie, support it, because I want to see more original movies and people actually using their creativity in Hollywood. Across the board, the cast are all very good. John David Washington is the lead in this film. Just like in BlacKkKlansman, he is great. I love seeing him as the main lead in a blockbuster film for once. Robert Pattinson might be the best out of them all, though. He stole the show in this movie. I cannot wait to see what he brings to the character of Bruce Wayne / Batman when that film comes out in 2021. Elizabeth Debicki was great too, and Kenneth Branagh plays a villain for the first time, and I think ever. Every single time I see Kenneth Branagh on the screen, I always just think of Gilderoy Lockhart. But in this movie, you don't see Gilderoy Lockhart anymore. You see a maniacal, terrible person both under the skin and outside on the screen. So he was pretty darn good in this movie. I really like seeing Kenneth Branagh as a villain. Watching this movie on the screen, you can tell that Christopher Nolan was inspired by his previous works. For instance, there are flashbacks that remind me a whole lot of Inception. People can contact the future, like in Interstellar, and characters come on the screen without having big introductions. We've seen this multiple times before in Christopher Nolan movies like Inception and The Dark Knight Rises. Characters will just come on screen. You have no idea who they are. They have a little conversation with our main character, and then they're one of the main characters in the film. They don't have much of a backstory. They just come on the screen, and that's about it. But we see a lot of similar elements and themes we've seen before in other Christopher Nolan movies here in Tenet. And I do want to repeat myself once more that both the opening and finale of Tenet are two of the greatest openings and finales I've seen in cinema history. These things are so exciting, action-packed. You are on the edge of your seat. There's so much at stake. You're getting all the feels. You want to cry. It's everything and more in both the beginning and ending sequences of Tenet. This is why Christopher Nolan is my favorite director. Once you see this movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, where do I rank Tenet out of all of Christopher Nolan's movies? I'm not totally sure yet because there are some things that still bug me deep down about Tenet to where I'm not completely convinced that this movie is the best Christopher Nolan movie since Inception. I do need to see Tenet many more times to fully understand its concept, but that does not change the fact that Tenet is still easily one of the most convoluted, confusing movies I've ever seen. If you thought Inception was confusing, wait till you see Tenet. This movie has so many different moving parts to the point where you can barely focus on one single thing. You have to measure basically every element in Tenet to really understand what this movie is about. I love smarter movies where you have to put all the puzzle pieces together after watching it, but Tenet is still a film that I don't understand in some aspects because things just don't make sense. Even after reading various articles and looking through multiple different summaries, I am highly confused about what happened in some sequences in Tenet. Maybe that'll change after I watch this movie 10 to 15 more times, but after a few watches, I still don't feel like I'll understand everything that happened in this movie. I also realized the emotion was not there like it was in previous Christopher Nolan movies such as Inception, Interstellar, The Dark Knight Rises, Memento. This is not as emotionally layered as those films, which is pretty disappointing. I understand they wanted to make this a fun summer blockbuster that focused less on themes and more on plot and characters. But it would have been nice had this movie been deeper, had you gotten emotionally invested, because at the end of the day, I don't care that much about everything going on. Plus, it doesn't help that this movie has limited humor. Nolan always includes humor in his movies, but in Tenet, I didn't laugh too much. And that was disappointing. The middle of the movie is much slower paced compared to the beginning and the end, which did make me kind of upset because you do have to wait quite some time till we get another exhilarating action sequence after the opening. I wish Nolan cut right to the chase, but instead it feels drawn out in the middle of the movie. Like, why in the heck is there a boating trip scene in this film? I feel like that entire scene added up to nothing. It could have been cut out and nothing would have changed. So why is it there? I have no idea. Usually Nolan films always have scenes that feel necessary. That's not the case in Tenet always. This movie does feel like it has some filler. I can understand that Nolan wanted to save the coolest stuff for the ending, and that's exactly what he does. You're not fully invested in this film until the very end, but I will remind you that the beginning and ending of Tenet are insanely good. These are two of the greatest sequences I've ever seen on the big screen, and I cannot wait to watch this movie again just for the beginning and the end. So, to be completely real, I don't think Tenet is a perfect movie. I don't think it's Christopher Nolan's best movie, but it's one heck of a fun, exciting movie from start to finish. Yeah, the middle of this film gets kind of boring and you wish they'd cut right to the chase, but that does not mean this movie is not worth paying for in the theater. It's absolutely worth the theater experience just for that opening and ending. Tenet may be a bit flawed, but the ending is a reminder as to why I love watching movies so much. It's an epic finale, and Christopher Nolan in this final hour or so feels like he's back and better than ever compared to when he made Dunkirk. So for that reason, I do really, really like this movie, and I think I'm on the verge of loving it. And especially because of the opening and ending sequences, I am giving Tenet an 88%. I cannot wait to rewatch this movie in IMAX. I'm sure it'll be an experience of a lifetime. I am so glad that Christopher Nolan feels like Christopher Nolan once again. After watching Dunkirk, I was incredibly disappointed. But after watching Tenet, especially with that beginning and end, I can fully say, truthfully, that Christopher Nolan is still a great director. And the guy knows how to make incredible movies. Tenet might just be his best movie since Inception, but over time, we'll have to see. I'm not totally prepared to commit to that statement yet, but over a couple of years, that may be the case. But if you guys also happen to see the film Tenet in theaters already, be sure to let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are of it. If you're new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.